All right, welcome back. So far in this section, we've seen how different views can help us organize our data or visualize it differently to get the most out of the information we have in our tables. So we've looked at how we can change the grid view to make it a little more useful, and then we organized our data according to status in the Kanban view to make our work more visible, and then we made it easier to get data from the team using the form functionality. In this lesson, we're going to explore the calendar view, which will be the last view that we look at in this course. And the calendar view allows you to visualize all of your data in, well, a calendar. And so it'll organize all your records according to a date field. In our case, it's going to be the release date. And so each one of our records is going to be placed on this calendar according to its release date. So the calendar view is extremely powerful. I've seen it used by every single type of department. I've seen HR use it to manage upcoming interviews, operation teams to track shipments of materials, or marketing teams trying to stay on top of their content creation. In our case, we're going to use the calendar view to see upcoming releases and make sure everyone in the company is aware of which features are being released and when. As always, let's explore this view to make sure we understand it. Similar to the Kanban view, you can move any of the records on the calendar to change its date. So if I take this and move it to Tuesday the 8th and click into that record, what I can see is that the release date has been changed to Tuesday, January 8th. Let's move that back. There we go. So before I show you how the filter and sort functionality at the top works, let's take a moment to explore these records on the right. So these are a list of all of the records in our table, sorted in the same order that we have them in our base view. So Facebook sign-on, if I go back to our default view, which as you can remember was sorted by effort, I can see that Facebook sign-on is the first record. So going back into calendar. So the filter and sort functionality is also going to affect these records on the right. So if I filter according to, let's say, where team lead is myself, so Aaron, so I only see my features on the calendar, I'm going to see those same records on the right. And if I say sort, let's say according to status, apply, it'll only sort the ones on the right because these are sorted according to their date. So let's go ahead and remove this filter. A second way that you can filter or view this differently is that instead of filtering all the records, so those on the calendar and on the right, Airtable allows you to filter according to the records with dates. So those are those that should show up on the calendar, and then records without dates. And this was only going to filter our records on the right and is not going to affect our calendar view. So let's look at the records without dates. What you see here are all the features we have not yet scheduled onto our calendar. As Airtable points out, I can just drag and drop, and then this will assign the release date to this feature for the 17th. That's not something we want to do, so let's move it back and remove that release date. So similar to the form view, I want everyone at my company to have access to this calendar and can see it, but I don't necessarily want to give them view access to this table or to this base and have to explain Airtable to them. What I'd rather do is integrate this calendar into an existing calendar software that we use. Personally, I use Google Calendar because I'm a Google client. So I'm going to show you how Airtable is actually able to copy these launch dates or release dates into an existing calendar. So we're going to do that with Google Calendar. So first you go to this share button, create a calendar view link, yes. And I'm going to skip over this for a moment and go directly to the iCal subscription link. So we're going to copy this. And then I'm going to go into my Google Calendar, where on the left here I have add calendar. So I can add calendar from URL, and that URL is going to be the one we just copied. So I'm going to add that to my calendar, and then I go back to my calendar here, And let's give it a month view. I actually have the features on my own Google Calendar. So if I click on them, it gives me a link to the record, and I can see additional information about the Facebook retargeting pixel feature. Note that this is a one-way integration, so any changes I do in my Airtable will be reflected in the Google Calendar. Now, if I change any of this information, it's not going to be reflected in the Airtable. Another note is that currently, if I go into the week view, all of my launches are at midnight, and that's just because we've only specified a date. Had we specified an exact launch time, that will be reflected in the calendar. So let's go back to the month view. There we go. So this subscription link, or the ability to reflect changes in your Airtable calendar with the calendar software that your company uses, is extremely powerful and useful in sharing information with the larger team without necessarily having them understand the tool that you're using, in this case, Airtable. All right, let's go back to our calendar view in Airtable. So back to the sharing functionality. You can also share a calendar through a link. This is similar to the form functionality where we shared a link and that user could fill out the form. In this situation, if I copy and paste this link into my URL, it'll actually just show them the calendar where they can see the different features and their information. Note that this is the exact same link that was shared in the Google Calendar integration in the events description. So there you go. That's what I wanted to show you for the calendar view, which is an extremely powerful way to visualize our information. Before you go to the next section, where we'll be exploring how to use multiple tables in our base, I want you to explore the gallery view on your own. Make sure to use it with a table that has an attachment field, and maybe include some pictures in that attachment field to really get the most out of it. With that said, I'll see you in the next section.